Hello everyone, and welcome to this latest video discussion as part of the RICS Tech Partner Programme. My name is Andrew Knight and I've been at RICS for very much nearly 14 years now. My current role is to look at the effect of AI, data and technology right across the built and natural environment, and with around 113,000 qualified members working worldwide, right across the whole property life cycle through rural, land, planning and development, construction, brokerage, valuation, building operations, property management, finance and investment, building surveying. It's a hugely wide and varied profession. And indeed, our members work across all those major asset types of land itself, commercial, residential, alternative assets and infrastructure. So once again, a hugely broad landscape upon which data and tech and lately AI is having a huge impact. And I'm really delighted today to have three members of Darwinian Angel join us this afternoon for a discussion. And perhaps I'll go around the virtual table and get you all to introduce yourself. So perhaps starting in the top right-hand corner, Dinesh, do give us a brief introduction.
Thank you, Andrew, and thanks for having us. It's a real pleasure. So my name is Dan Patel. I'm a chartered surveyor by profession. I'm also one of the co-founders of Darwinian Angel. I have about 15 years experience working in both residential and the commercial property sector. Predominantly, my experience has been within the public sector, but I do have some private sector experience, but this was going back some time ago. So that's my experience.
Thank you. And Deepika.
Okay, hi everyone. So myself Deepika Velusamy, and I have a total of 6 years of experience working with AI technology, and I'll be the technical person of Darwinian Angel. So basically, we are, as the company says, we are looking out for building all AI products. So I'll be working on that part of the company. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And last but not least, Suniti.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. My name's Suniti Patel. I have experience in the private sector mainly, from manufacturing, publishing, insurance, hospitality, and various other sectors for 15 plus years now. By qualification, I've done business and commerce masters in that, and I'm part of the company as a product and marketing person for Darwinian Angel.
Thanks. Well, thanks all three of you for that introduction. If I could start with you, Dinesh, what's Darwinian Angel doing in terms of sort of, and I'll use the word disrupting these traditional practices across the built and natural environment sector, and what unique value is your technology going to bring?
So ethics and transparency is the drive and inspiration for Darwinian Angel, and I think that sort of drive has come from my profession as being part of the RICS. Ethics is central to everything we do in the RICS, and obviously ethics is such a big part of AI in developing algorithms, in developing products. So we've really put ethics at the center of everything we do. So I would say that we want to disrupt the status quo by embedding ethical AI across the entire property lifecycle. So that's from acquisition, due diligence to long-term portfolio management, and really focusing on developing custom AI models, which are tailored to each client's needs and data, so that the insights are nuanced and context-driven rather than generic. And Andrew, you must know how important nuance and context is.
Yes.
Anything to do with property. And we also want to bring together different forms of technology. So to give you an example, with the car manufacturing sector, for example, even going back as far as 10 years, they were developing semi-autonomous cars, which fuses a number of different types of technologies, different hardware and software, vision technology, for example. And I think there's a huge scope to bring that sort of fusion into the property industry, because vision, as you know, as a surveyor, it's so important when you get to the building. You're looking for defects, you're looking for anything that might might be slightly different, historical characteristics or anything like that. And I think that's probably what's sort of lagging behind in the property sector is, we've started to use things like drones and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
I think there's a lot more scope to bring different types of technologies together. So that's what we'll be sort of focusing on.
Indeed. And I'm glad you mentioned the word ethics, because I don't know whether you know, but we're currently in public consultation for the responsible use of AI standard that's going to be coming out from RICS. I think it's important that, as well as the bits and the bytes, we do think about that ethical dimension. That's really important. Moving to you, Suniti, what do you see as your clients' main sort of key pain points, and how do you address those? Because I do often in these kind of discussions talk about technology not being an end in itself, but a means to an end. So it's all about creating things that actually do solve problems, I think.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest challenges businesses face today, especially in industries like the real estate sector, is not the lack of data, but having too much of it. So the data is almost like fragmented, spread across different systems in various formats, sometimes outdated. This makes it really difficult for businesses to turn that data into actionable insights in real time. And in the property industry, we see a few pain points that really stand out. Firstly, data fragmentation. So real estate data is often siloed in spreadsheets, emails, legacy systems. And this is where AI can help. It can bring all the data together into a single unified system. It doesn't just aggregate, it actually cleans and structures the data into a source of truth that every team in the company can rely on. And the results is that insights are easier to extract, and then decisions are easier to make. And the other area I think would be valuations. Traditionally, property appraisals relied on outdated, historical comps, which are dated by months. But with our solution, you can get real-time valuations. So our AI can analyze live market data like interest rates, migration patterns, rental demands in literally seconds. So it means that investors can see how the current market trends are impacting property values instantly, rather than waiting for reports to come to them and then making decisions. And I guess the other area is maintenance. So in property management, waiting for something to break before fixing is really costly and inefficient. So with AI-powered digital twins, buildings can be monitored in real time. So for example, AI can predict when an HVAC system is about to fail based on sensor data. And this is really helpful because studies actually show that predictive maintenance can reduce costs by like 25 to 30% by preventing like expensive last minute repairs. And then obviously there's all this burden around regulatory compliance and ESG reporting, and it's getting increasingly complex with like businesses scrambling to meet net zero targets, stay on top of regulations, and AI can help in all this by automating the sustainability tracking and compliance reporting instead of relying on like annual audits, or it actually monitors continuously and makes adjustments in real time. And literally staying ahead of changing requirements. I think the other thing is there's so many, but I think these are the few main ones that kind of stand out is risk. So how often we've all like heard that, oh, if only we had seen this problem earlier, we could have prevented it. So many businesses only react to risk after they become issues. So with AI and our solution, potential risks can be flagged before they escalate, and it quantifies their potential impact and provides actionable recommendations to mitigate them. And it allows businesses to then be more proactive. So to sum it up, really, if we think about data fragmentation, slow valuations, inefficient maintenance, compliance challenges, unpredictable risk, we've got a powerful solution. So transforming all of this into something which is simple, it's clear, you can take action on it, it's predictive, and we basically empower businesses to address these issues head on And it not only helps the businesses to overcome their challenges, but it also equips them with the real competitive edge, enabling them to be smarter, faster in making their decisions, and ultimately driving success in something which we're like ever evolving market condition. So that's where we kind of come from when we look at all the different challenges and like pain points across businesses.
Indeed. And Dinesh, to go back to something that's just been mentioned about that kind of ESG sustainability piece, as you know, as an RICS member, we're very focused on the sustainability piece. And I wonder whether there's obviously a lot of noise, if I can use that phrase, in the marketplace around AI, sustainability, and how they react with real estate. But do you think there's some kind of trends in terms of how those things interrelate that you've picked up that perhaps the market it may be missing?
Yeah, so one of the things perhaps is being overlooked is AI for circular economy.
Yeah.
And material reuse, for example.
Yeah.
That comes back to my point about using different kinds of technology to actually identify the types of materials that could be reused. For example, if you're demolishing a building, for example. So, I mean, the construction industry is one of the largest producers of waste, and tons of usable material ends up in landfills every single year. So it's about how can AI enable that circular economy and start to sort of, I mean, we're probably a long way from building a system that can actually take a piece of material and then recycle it into something else. But I mean, and there are complexities around how AI would recognize, for example, if a historic building is being demolished, it's a steel and glass tower building. So there are some challenges around that. But I think, if we focus on, the biggest waste and the biggest sort of energy producing areas of the property real estate, I think that's probably where we, the experts could focus on, really.
Indeed. And staying with you, Dinesh, actually, I mean, I want to go back to perhaps dig a bit deeper about this whole kind of ethics governance role. And certainly, as I mentioned, with our standard now in public consultation, it's obviously a big focus for us, this kind of ethical, responsible use. How are you bringing that to life in your technology? Because ethics and governance can sound a bit abstract to people. So, how are you making that real in your kind of approach to this AI technology?
So I want to sort of emphasize that the professional is the expert and not AI. When we talk about pilot, who is actually the co-pilot? Is it the AI or is it the professional? If you look at an aeroplane, the co-pilot is the aeroplane. The pilot is the actual person doing the driving. So, the focus of our technology is really about tools which aid the professional in making decisions, but ultimately it has to be the onus has to be on the professional to make the final judgment call. And I can't remember the guy's name, but there was someone on Instagram actually mentioned, I think, a teacher in mathematics, and he said that in the future people will just be getting answers from ChatGPT or other sort of AI programs. So in the future, the skill that will be needed is to actually grade the homework, and actually set the homework, not necessarily solving the problems, but actually determining whether the output is actually of the quality that you actually need. And I think that's going to be really crucial. So what we're trying to do with our technology, we're moving away from that magic box myth, moving away from the black box and trying to create a glass box where you can actually see the audit trail of the chain of thought and the reasoning. And I do think it's going to be a big problem in the future because, as these AI algorithms become more and more complex, and they're all built from previous, technology and previous models, which already have bias inbuilt. So I think it's going to be a real challenge to actually ensure that AI products are ethical. And to give you an example, for example, a model that is predicting or working out or calculating the rent of a certain area, but that certain area may have some social connotations, for example, inbuilt into the algorithm, and skewing the rent for certain areas. So it can have real world implications if we're not careful in how we design these products. So they need to be designed very carefully. Absolutely.
No, you're singing to the same hymn sheet as me. I make a big, when I present a lot about AI in this sector, I always talk about the kind of the human in the loop and the professional skepticism and the fact that you can't manage what you don't understand, that we need to be still able to understand what we're doing from first principles and make sure that we can be that reasoned advisor who can look at the output and critically analyze it and make sure that it's fit and proper. I'd always like to move to perhaps slightly more bits and bytes and bring Deepika into the conversation. I'd be keen to hear from you, given that obviously there's been, not just in our sector in the built environment, but this huge kind of obviously the wave of generative AI over the since November 2020 and ChatGPT. But obviously I'm very aware that AI in various forms has been around a long time. But given that what's happened in the last couple of years, Deepika, what do you think it will be, getting your crystal ball out, what do you think would be the most significant game-changing technology perhaps in the next 5 years? And I know it's always dangerous to make predictions, but looking ahead, what do you think is going to be really impacting the sector as a new wave? Is it going to be agentic AI? What do you think's out there for us?
Yeah. So yes, so as a technical person, I have seen firsthand like how AI is revolutionizing all the sectors, but to concentrate on real estate and
Yeah,
construction. So my viewpoint mostly will be that in next 5 years, integrating Gen AI with advanced digital twin technologies. So traditionally, a digital twin is a virtual model for a real world buildings or infrastructure assets. It gathers data from all the sensors like IoT sensors, building management systems, and other sources, giving us a real time snapshot of how a property is performing. That allows um, how we have a major step forward compared to the statistical spreadsheet and outdated blueprints. But what really transforms this into a revolutionary tool is Gen AI. Instead of just showing what happens now, we can stimulate a wide range of future scenarios. For example, if we manage a commercial building, the digital twin can analyze sensor data like HVAC loads,
yeah.
um, occupants, movements, and energy consumption. And Gen AI can predict what happens if a energy price spikes up or if an occupant's patterns change. It almost like having a digital crystal ball, we could say. So, why does this matter? So, first, it reduces risk because we can identify um, failing equipments or structural issues because they lead to expensive emergencies. Second, it allows for more precise sustainability measures rather than guessing how a retrofit will impact an energy usage. We can model it with the accurate data and the actual data and see which approach yields the best balance of cost saving and environmental impacts, I would say. So the yeah, the implications of constructions and designs are equally significant. Developments can test dozens of building layouts, materials, and orientations in the virtual settings. Generative AI can highlight the combinations that optimizes for cost, durabilities, and even occupants' well-being long before anything starts building. That's a game changer for sustainability and cost efficiency, I would say. So
Indeed.
also adding to
Yeah.
this, at a city-wide scale, we can create digital twins for entire neighborhood even,
Mm.
enabling planners to test new transit routes or zoning changes. This helps minimizing both economical and social disruptions because we can see outcomes or proposed changes ahead of time. Looking ahead, I expect we will see more accurate sensors, faster connectivity. Like we have 5G, we can 6G is on the go, and improve AI's explainability with these things. Together, these advances will make Gen AI with digital twin not just a tool for efficiency, but a fundamental shift in how design, build, or operate real, like how it's gonna operate real estate itself. It enables us to move from reactive problem solving to proactive, data-driven strategies. Truly transfer these entire industry. So yes.
Good. And
Yeah.
staying with you, I suppose almost as a counterpoint to what Dinesh was talking about in terms of always having that human in the loop. I mean, do you believe that AI can automate certain aspects of the industry? Will there be certain lower risk aspects that we can simply delegate fully to AI? Or do you think there's always going to be some degree of human oversight?
Yes, so I gonna start this with saying that this is a question that has been asked quite often to any of the AI persons over here. So, in my experience, AI can certainly automate a range of repetitive or data-driven tasks. So, for example, uh, mm, preliminary property validations, compliances check, or even project scheduling can be handled at a scale by algorithms that shift through monet, you know, mounting of data much faster than any humans could. So this is not only the speed things are, but also reduces human error, which is often costly in real estates and constructions. However, the idea that AI will eliminate the need of humans entirely is an unrealistic viewpoint, in my opinion, and also not desirable, I would
Yeah.
say. Real estate isn't just about churning numbers, it's about building relationship, earning trust, and navigating complex social dynamics. So a property might have certain market value on paper, but if there is a historical or cultural significance, AI alone might not capture that identity over that property. So that's where human professionals being essential local insights are needed. So there is also the ethical dimensions as we spoke. So AI system learns from existing data set, which can carry historical biases. If we rely solely on an AI decision such as tenant screening or mortgage approvals, we risk perpetuating unfair practices over here. So having human oversight ensures we can spot and correct the bias before they do harm. So we here prioritize transparency so that if an AI flags a property as high risk, we can track exactly why it made that decisions and question it if needed. Additionally, we can't discount the emotional intelligence humans offer over an AI model's predictions. So like negotiating or stakeholders engagement and community impact assessments often require empathy and adaptability, qualities that AI doesn't naturally possess. So, like, while AI will absolutely take over repetitive tasks, human will remain vital for high impact decisions, creative problem solving, and ethical stewardships. Ultimately, the base results comes from partnerships where leveraging AI speed and scale, while human maintenance oversights the being emotional and ethical intelligence into this mix. So yeah.
Indeed. No, I'm happy to hear you think that
Yeah.
human beings still have a role. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add that
yeah, sure.
I think it's also important to remember that humans are also biased, and it's not enough just to have humans in the loop. And I would go as far as saying you need angels in the loop to ensure that, we're talking about the RICS as a profession and how ethics is so central, to the profession. And I think, more professions need to have that sort of ethical core, if you like, because at the end of the day, the human making a decision also needs to be of a very sort of high ethical,
Exactly.
so the standard. So that's also important. As we're developing the AI industry, I'd like to see other industries also follow, the lead of RSCS, who, for decades and decades have placed ethics at its core, really.
Exactly. Staying with you, Dinesh. I mean, clearly, I keep going back to the kind of the fact that ChatGPT and the other generative AIs have really captured the zeitgeist. Have really captured the imagination and woken a number of sectors up, but obviously particularly the property sector to AI and in fact technology more broadly. I mean, do you think that there are still some big misconceptions about what AI is and isn't, and what digitization more generally means for the sector? Because it has been criticized in the past for being a little bit backward on the kind of digital side of things. So do you think the sector's still struggling with understanding what this all means?
I think so, to a large degree. And I think this is because property is such a tangible industry. It's a very physical industry. It's not like accountancy or law, which is quite abstract, for example. And I think I remember you talking in one of your podcasts, Andrew, about the fact that you can't help learning so much about buildings just because you walk into so many.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's probably why it's been quite slow to sort of incorporate some of the AI, which can be very abstract. It's dealing with abstract data and so forth. But I think the misconceptions is there is a lot of hype, and as Deepika was saying, AI is basically converts words into numbers, and those numbers are pushed through a number of algorithms, and it gets weighted, and you've got vectors playing around with it, and then it converts those numbers back into words. That's all it's doing effectively. Deepika, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but so there's a lot of hype around it, and I think ultimately, yes, some jobs, for example, in the real estate, may become redundant in the future, but I think there's huge scope for new industries to emerge. Especially within AI, within sensor technology, for example. And we may be doing the jobs differently. I think that's all. And I hope that AI will be able to help us move up the value chain effectively, and help us to make better decisions for society, for the industry. Make buildings safer, more compliant, more energy efficient, and that's ultimately what we want to see, really.
Exactly.
But yeah, like Deepika was saying, you can't just throw data at AI and it will figure everything out. And I think that's one of the big misconceptions. You still need that critical thinking, that creativity, because ultimately it goes back to the adage, garbage in, garbage out, and AI is no different, to be completely honest. So.
It is. Suniti, I love the comment that Dinesh made about black box to glass box, I think was the phrase he used. And I guess I'd be interested to hear from you how you're going around this kind of explainability challenge, because I think particularly in the real world, surveyors need to explain their thinking, explain their decisions. If you're doing a valuation or an early cost advice, or you've done sort of survey or a planned preventative maintenance schedule, you need to be able to explain your thinking and show you're working, a bit like a maths exam. So how are you approaching that challenge of making things a glass box, as Dinesh described it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really important point. And when it comes to AI, trust is everything. If people don't trust the AI recommendation, then they're simply just not going to use it. So I completely get it. It's a big deal. And what we do is we take several steps to ensure that AI is not only powerful, but explainable and trustworthy. So the three main principles we focus on this point is we believe that AI should always show its work. So if I give an example, if you think about when you consult an expert like a financial advisor, or a doctor, you wouldn't just take their word for it without understanding how they reached to their conclusion. So it's the same with AI. We just don't present the AI's output. We show exactly how it got there. So if AI flags a property at high risk, for example, we explain things like what data is used, what patterns it identified, how it arrived at the final insight, for example. So if there's a financial risk, we break it down, which factors contributed, why it's different from past data, and the confidence level in that prediction. So this literally allows professionals then to validate the reasoning, just like they would with any other expert. And then the other thing we focus on is proactively addressing bias. So going back to that whole point about bias, we all know that AI is only good as the data that it's trained on. So if historical data has bias, the AI can unintentionally amplify it, which is not good. This is crucial in real estate, obviously, where past biases in lending or property valuations could influence decisions. So that's why we regularly run bias audits on our models to detect and correct any unfair patterns. And finally, we prioritize explainable AI, or XAI, as we call it. Um, so it can feel like a black box, and it's a huge barrier to trust when people, think of AI in that way. So instead of just spitting out numbers, we ensure that what we provide as a solution explains why it made a particular decision. Um, so it would explain vacancy rates, for example. Again, if you go back to the property at risk example, if maintenance costs have unexpectedly increased. So these are things that we would put along with the numbers. And what this does basically is make the process transparent. So allowing professionals to understand and validate it. And at the end of the day, what we believe is that it's not about replacing the human touch, especially for high stake decisions like property valuations and lending. We always want to keep the human in the loop with the solution that we provide. It's an assistance provided to our daily kind of activity, not replacing decision makers, because you can't take away local expertise, you can't take away professional judgment and ethical considerations. And what we're committed to, basically, Andrew, is building AI that's transparent, explainable, fair, and accountable. And I think this is essential when it comes to, major decisions that you have to make in the property sector. And it's one that we take very seriously, so that people can build that trust, and feel confident in the AI solution that's provided. And most importantly, I think we work with businesses. We don't just give a product with a list of features in a booklet. We work with them to build AI which works for them. And yeah, I think that's what I would say is what it means to kind of build that trust in AI.
And I think that's just so incredibly important, and it was great to hear your explanation of that, because I think that's really the key to driving adoption in a sector where we're working with assets where people live, work, and play. It's so important. And staying with you, Suniti, I'm thinking about the journey of Darwinian Angel. I mean, what have been the challenges and the excitement and the things you've had to do to grow the business to where you are now? Because obviously, being an entrepreneur and starting a new venture, it can be challenging at times.
Oh, absolutely. Scaling an AI business definitely comes with its own set of challenges, but we've kind of taken an approach strategically on this. So one of the biggest challenges has been bridging the perception gap around AI. So especially in industries that have been slower to adopt new technology. So AI actually has so much potential to drive transformation if it's used in the right way. But so many businesses still view it as a distant or optional, or something which is not actually critical and enabling for success today, but it absolutely is. And this is where we come in. This perception barrier, I think, is something that we've had to kind of overcome when it comes to the people that we've been speaking to. And this is through education, market engagement, really. And instead of just launching our AI solutions and hoping for the best, we ran internal simulations, pilot programs, tested our solutions in real world environments. So this hands-on approach helped us fine-tune our technology and, more importantly, demonstrate the tangible benefits of AI for businesses. And this, again, it helped build the trust and show companies real-world problems our solutions can solve. I guess another challenge was helping businesses smoothly transition to using AI. So a lot of companies hear AI, I think it will be complex, disruptive. This is the kind of attitude that companies have. To make it easier, we've adopted an integration first approach. So instead of forcing businesses to overhaul their systems, we plug into their AI and into their existing workflows. So our tools are like intuitive, so no complicated training is needed, making adoption a lot easier for companies. And of course, trust, again, I think that's the key factor here. By not actually giving products and telling people, okay, this is the features and this is how you use it, we actually work with them. And this is the most important thing. And the programs of actually showing real world results, not just promises made to them that this product will do A, B, and C. So we collaborate with regulators, policymakers to ensure solutions align with industry standards. And we engage in thought leadership to keep conversations about AI open and transparent. And basically, by demonstrating measurable outcomes, we've been able to overcome a lot of these barriers and got people to kind of adopt this way of using AI in their business. And ultimately, we've learned that scaling is not just about having the right technology, it's about building strong human connections and ensuring our solutions align with the strategic goals of the businesses. So we're building AI to enhance human intelligence, not replace it, like we mentioned before. We just don't provide a product, we work with teams. And by focusing on that transparency, trust, ease of integration, we've actually managed to show businesses like how AI can truly partner with them in their growth.
And just to add, I think there's a lot that industry leaders and developers of software and hardware can do as well to build trust. So, for example, establishing standards for AI use and AI development. Because at the moment, I mean, let's face it, it's a bit of a AI Wild West out there.
Yeah.
Because it is such a new technology, and I know it's going to be difficult. Different countries and cultures will have different bias, different standards, different rules and regulations on AI use. So coming up with international standards will be a challenge, but I think the RICS can play a really big role in actually driving that discussion forward in terms of what standards need to be in place for the industry. And there are big risks. We haven't really spoken about them, but for example, in the car industry, when if a fully autonomous car runs over a pedestrian, God forbid, who's actually responsible?
Yeah.
Car, is it the human? And you'd have the same issues with the property industry. If a mistake is made on a high investment valuation, or there's an issue with the building because of an AI prediction, who is actually responsible? So there are some fundamental ethical issues that need to be discussed, to actually enhance trust and transparency. it remains.
No, you're so right, because in our draft standard, we do address those real world issues of reliance and liability. Well, where does liability sit? One has to actually address these, because we're not existing purely in a cyberspace in that way. I'd always like to give the last word to Deepika, from a kind of technical perspective, almost of what advice you would give to startups, innovators looking at this whole proptech, AI, real estate, sustainability space, because there's a huge amount of activity, and we want anybody who's coming into this sector as a startup and an innovator to do the right things. What would be your advice as an AI expert?
Yeah, I love this question because the ProTech and sustainability sector offer incredible opportunities, but they also come up with unique challenges.
Yeah.
So, based on our experience at Darwinian Angel, and also incorporating a lot of point what Suniti just said in previous two questions, some key insight which I can combine with the technicality of an AI project will be like, first I would go with focus on real user problem. Like, too many startups get excited by the latest AI trends without validating an actual market need. So talk to the property manager, architects, and compliance officers and tenants, even anyone direct who are in the position to impact the issue you're trying to solve. Make sure you're addressing a genuine pain point, whether it's an insufficient data management, skyrocketing energy cost, or complex regulatory hurdles. So, like this, the focus should be on the real user problem, not about fancying output or like using a fancy model. Should be the problem in hand, should be the important point of whole. Second would be invest in data quality and governance. So AI is only as good as the data it is trained on. Real estate data is often fragmented, incomplete, or outdated. Put robust data cleaning and integration process in place from the start. uh, it's not only improves the accuracy of an AI model, but also builds credibility with the clients who rely in the trustworthy output. So next would be design for transparency. In real estate, trust is everything. So stakeholders needs to understand the logic behind AI recommendation, especially when a large financial or uh, com- compliance decisions are at stake. We should provide the results, the output on a clean dashboard, intuitive reports, or visual explanations. If your system just looks like a backlog, like Suniti said, like adaptation will be slow for AI. So whatever results we get, how we present it also is really important over here. Then would be like plan for a smooth integration. Many real estate firm uses legacy systems or heavily customized softwares. Make it easier for them to plug in your AI into their existing workflow. So this is how even we would see, like asking them to completely change from the workflow or the traditional model, whatever they are using for like 20 years or 30 years. It's an it's not a realistic thing to just ask them to shift. So they what I would suggest is like have all these plugin models where with the existing system we can plug in an AI and they can have the feel of what an AI can do. So offer like all these well developed APIs or flexible data connectors, so they don't have to overhaul everything just to use the product. They'll be comfortable in it and then also have the taste of an AI to the solution. So stay aligned and watch for regulatory changes. So in ProTech and sustainability landscape shifts quickly. new ESG requirements, energy regulations, or building codes can appear almost overnight. Keep a plus on these developments and be ready to pivot the solution. And align approach helps you turn potential challenges into opportunities. Lastly, build a cross functional team. Don't underestimate the value of diversity. Combine AI experts with property professionals, environmental engineers, and even behavior scientists, if we can. This ensures we don't develop solutions in vacuum, and that we can truly address the variety need for the real estate ecosystem. So uh, ultimately, if we are solving genuine user problem, handle data responsibility, embrace transparency, make integration easy, remain adaptable, and bring together the right mix of expertise, we will be well positioned to success. So
Indeed, no.
it is yeah, it is an exciting time for ProTech, I would say, especially for those who see both technical and possibilities and human related play. So
Indeed.
this would be my advice. Yeah.
No, that's a very good advice, and I always certainly personally repeat that piece around, solving real problems rather than just technology for technology's sake. Well, it's been a fascinating conversation. Dinesh, Suniti, and Deepika, thank you ever so much for your time. Really, really interesting, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Okay.